I'm talking about trusting the students. Now, for a professor to trust the students with the control of a machine shop, essentially, right? You've got a room full of equipment. Some of this equipment can kill you.
So we are right now at the Indian Academic Makerspace Conference. We are at IIT Gandhinagar, and I'm really delighted to have an international delegate. I mean, we have had a lot of fun in the last 2 days,
Yes.
and I'd like to introduce all of you who are watching the podcast to Craig Forrest. He's from Georgia Tech, and interestingly, Georgia Tech has the largest makerspace ecosystem in the United States. And along the course of these 2 days, we have, on the sidelines of the conference and during Craig's keynote speech, he shared some really interesting insights on what it takes to build a flourishing, thriving makerspace community. And while he was giving his keynote, I was thinking to myself that a very small fraction of the makers or passionate makers and tinkerers that are there in India is actually at the conference. So we're really doing this podcast to share it with a far wider audience as to what Craig shared at the conference this year. So Craig, my first question to you is, you started your presentation by talking about the importance of maker culture. And you took us through to some of the essential ingredients of what is necessary to make a thriving maker culture.
Right.
And then you connected it to how the culture then builds community. So could you share what, in your opinion, is the 3 key ingredients that that makes a thriving maker culture?
Right. Well, thank you for having me, and I'm happy to help however I can, and I'm excited for all the work that the foundation is doing in India and the incredible progress that you've already made with all of the attendees at the conference and all the other makerspaces in India. So I'm really happy to jump on this. It's a moving train, and I'm trying to jump on the moving train and help even go faster. So I'm excited to be here to help. So what we discovered at Georgia Tech about 17 years ago was that the key to having the makerspace flourishing, and this was just a discovery. We didn't know this. We just got lucky, really. Is that it's not about the machines, okay? And it's not about a guru who knows everything, who's in charge. You actually have to do something that's counterintuitive and hard. And that is to let go of the control.
Okay, very hard to do.
I'm talking about trusting the students. Now, for a professor to trust the students with the control of a machine shop, essentially, right? You've got a room full of equipment. Some of this equipment can kill you. Yeah. And I'm saying something crazy, which is give the students the key and let them decide when the facility is open for general use by the university community, the college community, and when it's closed, and what are the policies for safety and access. Start with a small group of maybe 10 students and say, hey, let's decide when are we going to be open, what are the rules in here, and how are we going to train people on how to use this machine and this laser cutter over here and this bandsaw. And then you cheer for them and get out of the way. Now, you meet with them once in a while and you say, hey, how's it going? And they say, well, we saw people very confused about the laser cutter, so okay, well, let's make some very clear guides for the laser cutter. Maybe what can you do about that? What do you think? And they say, oh, we could make a video. Okay, yeah, make a video. Or go download one of the videos. Or maybe make some laminated sheets and attach them to the laser cutter so that a student can walk up and kind of get started and then ask for help. And in this way, we've seen the makerspace at Georgia Tech grow and grow and grow beyond our wildest imagination. And it has remained, there's three things about it that make it very special. It's student run, as I've been describing here. It's free to use. Okay. Now you can bring in your own materials, like maybe you bring in a piece of wood, but using the machines is free. 3D printing is free.
Free.
Right. And it's open 24/7 for those with the key and anyone they want to supervise. And it has normal operating hours for all students of, like, say 10 to 5 or, daytime hours, whenever they want, maybe 12 to 5, 12 to 6, whatever is reasonable at your campus. So they're volunteering their time during those staffed hours, and then they have the key 24/7 otherwise.
Okay, I have a question
Okay.
that would be in the top of the mind of a lot of makerspace administrators in India, which they tell us in private, right? It is that, oh, we spent a lot of money on this really expensive equipment, and how can we leave it and trust students to use it?
Right.
Because what if, if we leave it to the students, they'll trash the place.
Right. They'll trash the place. Right.
What would you say to them?
Right. So I have visited universities where the spaces are trashed. Okay. I've seen this happen. The students want to get in, get what they want, and leave. Right. And that's not what I'm talking about. Okay. What I'm talking about is a place that the student community owns, and they treat it as with the same care as they would treat their own personal possessions. So the freedom that they have comes with the responsibility of taking care of this very special privilege.
Correct.
Okay. And so if there is a student who's working and creating destruction, then you go and you don't berate that person. Okay. Instead, we're focused on positive encouragement. Hey, welcome to the makerspace. Here, I don't know if you know, but here it's all owned and run by students. And if we don't take care of it, we're not going to have it. We got to cherish this special thing. And they say, well, I am a student here, so I get the right to use this equipment. No, I'm sorry. You must be confused. Being here is not a right. It's a privilege. Okay. And if you don't want to join our community and take care of it, then, it's okay. You don't have to be here. This is only for people who agree that we're all
It's a
together.
privilege.
Yes. And so this flagrant abuse kind of in the middle of the night, alone, dark, like breaking stuff, that doesn't really happen because there's people all around, right? And they want to join the culture, not, there's no kind of opportunity for that, So, but if, so the difference and the reason why that doesn't happen is because of ownership.
Yeah.
Let me give you one more example. So we have a whole wall of power tools. And these power tools, maybe they cost, is it 0.2 lakh each, okay? So we have like maybe 50 power tools. And any student at Georgia Tech, any student can walk in and put the power tool in their backpack and just walk out. But guess what? We have never had a stolen power tool. Yeah. Even though there's no guards, there's no chains, there's no paper slip you have to fill out, there's no ID card, there's nothing. There's no payment. So I think the students in there, they understand that if they were to do that, it would somehow be breaking the trust. It would be like not nice to their friends and the people they care about. So, occasionally things get lost, of course. And we like to think that's an honest mistake.
Yeah, and that happens.
Of course.
Yeah.
But the flagrant abuse and theft and stuff, that's not the type of environment in the makerspace. And if anything like that were to happen, they would be exiled, basically.
So now I'm going to ask you a slightly complex question. And this might be unique in a way to India, but I'm just going to throw it at you and see if you have any answers for us. If you look at, and maybe you have an answer from the Hemi uh, makerspace, that community itself, while, not from just your wearing your Georgia Tech hat,
Right, right.
that what Maker Bhavan has kind of is grappling with at the moment is that there is a mushrooming of maker spaces who are working in their own silos,
Right.
right? But there is no sense of being a part of a larger community. And this is the next project, right? The Academy Makerspace Conference is a way, and we took the ISAM playbook out and we said, okay, let's try it here. But forget even at an institutional level, but even at a student level,
Mm.
right? How do you build community between intra-institution and inter-institution for students?
Well, those are two separate questions, and these are not easy answers, right?
No, no,
I mean,
just your
even
thoughts.
at Georgia Tech,
Hmm.
you know, just because I may be a leader in the invention studio,
Hmm.
it doesn't mean I can walk in and use the 3D printer in the other makerspace. Like they say, oh, come on in.
Hmm.
It's like a little bit of a difference in these two spaces, and they don't necessarily have exactly the same language. But I think what the Higher Education Makerspace Initiative has shown
Hmm.
is there's a real power in the community of practitioners. You know, when we have these meetings every year, we typically have 300 people come from 100 different universities around the world. And it's a place where you can share your fears and your hopes. It's a place where you can ask for, hey, what are your policies around welding in the middle of the night? How do you handle that? And all this very practical advice. Oh, we need more women in our makerspace. How did you get more women in your makerspace? So there's lots and lots of sharing of best practices, and that's just very efficient to do. And these little groups have popped up, like in the UK, they formed a little WhatsApp group, and then they decided to have their own
Hmm.
conference called Unimaker, and
Hmm.
now there's new maker spaces popping up in the UK, and they can all ask each other for help. And so overall, there's been now it's been about 10 years of our international symposium conference, with each time about maybe 50 papers presented by 100, let's say, authors. And so this has all been archived, and it's a massive database of what has worked and what has not worked, and the data. Because it was started by academic researchers, we really value data and hypothesis driven study.
Hmm.
Like if I do this intervention, then I measure before and after, and I see if it was an improvement. Okay,
Right. Yeah.
not just a hunch or opinions or fear, right? But pedagogy and grounded in research methods.
And evidence.
Evidence,
Yeah.
super important. Okay, so these papers are peer reviewed. They're published in the proceedings, and there are faculty using this as academic credits for their tenure case and their promotion case. So it's a legitimate academic activity.
Correct.
Okay, and so we really value that, and that's why it's faculty driven,
Yes.
and it's an important element to the community that this is perceived as a scholarly activity, and
Yes.
not just in another room like the gymnasium or something. This is actually education research.
Yeah, so before I go to the last question, and this is probably a good time for me to share a personal story, is that when I first started my journey into building maker spaces, and I was telling this to Craig yesterday, that I spent 3 months going through three different years, and other than Craig, I'm probably the one who's read every paper in. And the wonderful thing about the International Symposium of Academic Makerspaces is that the idea of collaboration and community is conveyed by how they act, which means that every paper is available in the public domain. So any makerspace anywhere in the world, anybody who wants to know more of what has been done, what has been attempted, can just go and access every year's proceedings. And I think that, Craig, is a truly wonderful thing. When I started, I did not know anything, like I told you. Whatever I know today is thanks to ISAM.
It's really part of the maker spirit, you know,
Yeah.
that you're not only tinkering, but then you turn around and you share it.
Yeah.
That's really the, make magazine, and
Hmm.
going back many decades before any of this academic makerspace stuff was this maker ethos that we really try to embody. And yeah, it's a great journey, and I'm excited that those who are starting now can take advantage of 10 years of learning
Yes. Yeah.
so they won't make the same mistakes, right? I
Hmm.
mean, we made a lot of mistakes at Georgia Tech not knowing what we were doing. You know, one time,
Hmm.
here's a mistake. I'm embarrassed to tell you. So the club of students, they
Hmm.
elect their own officers, right?
Hmm.
And the officers were working more than just the required 3 hours of time.
Time.
I don't know if I made this clear, but the students who run the space, they volunteer 3 hours each to
Yeah.
staff the space.
Yeah.
Well, the officers were working 10, 20, 30 hours per week
Okay.
because of running the club, right?
Yeah.
Holding meetings,
Yeah.
managing money. So I started feeling bad. And you
Hmm.
know what I did? I said, I'm going to start paying the officers because
Ah.
I feel bad for them. So I'm going to give them some money because they're working so hard. And that created a huge problem
Yes.
because the students in the club felt jealous and there was a disparity.
Yeah.
And so I had to knock it off, right?
Hmm.
But now you can see in the literature, don't pay the
Yeah.
don't pay
And
them.
the interesting part is I don't remember which paper it was,
Yeah,
but I do remember reading this because I pointed out to that paper saying, look, it's written here. It's not a good practice to pay
yeah.
student volunteers.
Now there is some other institutions that
Hmm.
have a very successful makerspace. They do pay hourly wages,
Huh.
and so, but I would say do it consistently. Okay,
Yeah.
either don't pay or pay
Or pay
all.
everyone. Yeah.
Yes, and so that was just one example of an embarrassing mistake that I made in the early days, and we learned and we improved. So now you can take advantage of 10 years of learning from hundreds of
Hmm.
others, and say, okay, let's start off on the right foot. But I recognize that this still, even today, it seems almost too good to believe.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like, hold on a second. I'm a professor and yet I can teach without teaching, right? Like, I create students who learn by teaching each other
Yeah.
instead of me teaching them. It's almost like not like counterintuitive, and it's like impossible to believe. And so all I can encourage you to try is an experiment.
Yes.
And if it doesn't work, it's okay, and
Hmm.
try something else, okay?
Hmm.
But the experiment is to gather 10 students and let them have the key and get out of the way. And I'm not talking about,
I'm going to make that a copy line for this podcast.
I'm not, I'm not talking about just like they're alone. You're still there if they need an issue. The issue comes up. Hey, we need more electrical power, or hey, we have a bully that we need to deal with. You're there for advice, okay? But you're not in charge of the shop. It's not your shop.
Hmm.
It's not your equipment. Okay. Now, of course, the university owns the machines, of course, but really, the students should know that it's
Hmm.
their equipment.
Okay, moving to my last question, and this is where, again, I think the Georgia Tech and Invention Studio experience might be helpful for a lot of colleges in this geography, in and around India, maybe other countries in South Asia as well, as to, being one of the larger maker spaces, because I know that Invention Studio really caters to a huge number of students.
Right.
Do you have some examples of programming uh, which can be done by new initiatives, but which addresses a large number of
Right.
students,
Right.
and can accommodate a large number of students.
Right. So um, we serve about 3,000 students per month in the Invention Studio.
Yeah.
Now, in the engineering school is probably about 15 or 20,000 students.
Hmm.
So let's say one out of every five students is using the Invention Studio in a given month.
Yeah.
Okay. So they also spread themselves around. So maybe some are working on sewing and some are working on injection molding over here, and there's a guy welding over there.
Hmm.
So they can fit in where there's space. And if the queue for the 3D printer gets too long, then we buy another 3D printer.
Hmm.
Okay, that's a good problem to have, a long queue, because
Hmm.
it means that people are using it.
Correct.
Okay, that's not a bad problem, but it requires some attention. Um, and in this way, you can get more space and more equipment and more critical mass. Bring your boss by when there's a line out the door. That's the good time to bring your boss by. Say, what are we going to do? Help me. Um, so you want to have the students spread in time and space, and you want to have lots of open hours so that the students will figure out what fits, right? If there's a crush of activity
Hmm.
at the same time
Time.
of day, they'll come first thing in the morning. I
Hmm.
always see before the studio opens at 10 o'clock, there's always like 50 people hanging out in the lobby waiting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're the early birds. And
Hmm.
then you have the late birds. And they seem to figure it out. They seem to figure it out. Now, let's say your studio is, unable to. So even with the 15,000 students, the Invention Studio is not able to serve all of them. So now there's another Invention Studio and another one at Georgia Tech. I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Someone just told me here. There's 22 Makerspaces at Georgia Tech now. I didn't even know. But
Wow.
there's one in the aerospace engineering building and one in the electrical engineering building. And they're run similarly, slightly different. Some are more like the Invention Studio, some are a little bit more top-down management.
Hmm.
Some are more specialized with materials science equipment or electrical fabrication. We have some electrical fabrication in the studio, but we don't have all the tools like
Hmm.
solder, reflow oven, and all the exotic tools. They have a plasma cutter, we have a laser cutter. There are slight differences. But the students, they find out what they need to do, where they can go. Um, for this, if to reach the ultimate goals, which is to change engineering education, then we're going to have a lot of capacity. And I think
Yes.
I don't want to be intimidating and say, go and change your whole campus. I want to start with something that works. And then if it's good, then add another room or maybe add another machine and start so simple. One room, one mill, one laser cutter or one 3D printer, just a few small things. And then grow organically. Don't build a 10,000 square foot building
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
just say, okay, go ahead. That'll be a little bit overwhelming. I think start small.
Yeah.
Like if you have a 10,000 square foot building, first of all, congratulations. That's amazing. But
Yeah.
maybe rope off, like with physical ropes, a small area and say, this is the student run area.
Yeah.
No, you're the one in charge of this corner.
Hmm.
And then every week, move the ropes back like 1 foot. Okay? If
Yeah.
if it's okay, if it's going well.
Yeah.
So you have to expand slowly.
Good. No, got it. Usually, what we tell colleges when they reach out to us is if you have 1,500 square feet, that's more than enough to
Yes, I
start.
agree. And it's about, 10 people in there running a shop with 1,500 square feet. They should be able to serve several hundred students per month and get the data. Say,
Yeah.
send us the data, and then we'll decide if we can do the next grant.
Yeah. Perfect. Craig, it was fantastic talking to you. I hope you'll be here next year. If
Thank you.
Not,
Thank you for
then sometime in the near future.
I'm so
Uh,
excited for what's going on in India. It's actually the number one hotspot in the world. That's why I'm here. I'm
huh,
telling you, you have the public is passionate about science and engineering. You have a national effort,
hmm.
foundation effort. There's, this conference is going to grow and it's going to overtake ISAM.
We have a long way away from that.
Okay, we'll check back in 10 years.
Thank you so much.